Am I the asshole for throwing my pregnant sister-in-law's groceries away?
Plus 2 updates.
My brother and his wife, Laura, who is 7 months pregnant, are staying with us for a week or so while he interviews for jobs in the city where my family and I live. My kids love having their aunt and uncle around, and everything has been great so far. Yesterday, Laura went out and came back with groceries. I thanked her but told her we didn't expect them to do that. The kitchen is stocked, and we're just enjoying having them with us. She explained that she wanted to, and that most of the groceries were cravings she's been having. I started helping her unload the bags and noticed that a lot of the snacks contain peanuts, cookies, crackers, peanut butter, even some kind of cake fusion. This made me uneasy because she knows my oldest son 𝗙𝗂𝗋 is severely allergic. I don't keep anything with peanuts in the house, as we've had an incident when he was younger where we almost lost him. I didn't want to be rude, but I told her I wasn't comfortable having those kinds of snacks in the house. She assured me she'd be careful, not eat them around him or his siblings, and that she'd clean up after herself, saying she was having intense cravings and really needed them. Look, I've had 4 kids, so I kind of understand where she's coming from, though I never had to have something specific. But every woman is different. I made sure my son knew not to touch any of it and to stay away when she was eating them. That was that. This morning, I woke up early to make breakfast and opened the fridge, only to find strawberries dipped in peanut butter left out without a container to chill. The peanut butter jar was not properly sealed, and there were sandwiches on a plate because, as she said, she likes the bread cold and soggy. I was furious. I've read enough about airborne contamination to know it's not always clear how much of a risk is present, but I wasn't about to gamble with my son's life. I grabbed a bag and started throwing everything into it, our groceries, hers. I didn't care. I planned to drive to a shelter and explain the situation. Laura woke up during my little rampage and came downstairs, clearly upset, and asked what I was doing. I didn't hide my frustration. We argued. She defensively said I couldn't do that the baby needed the food, and that it was cruel to deny a pregnant woman her cravings. I told her bluntly that I didn't care. If she couldn't keep her word, then I wouldn't either. She'd survive without her cravings. My son doesn't have that luxury when it comes to his allergy. She went back upstairs, packed her bags, came back down, grabbed the food, and left in a huff. My brother was at his interview and called me half an hour later to ask what had happened. He was upset with his wife but also with me because, in his view, nothing had happened and, at the end of the day, my son was fine. I told my husband when he came home, and he's completely on my side. Update. Like some people had predicted in the comments on the other sub, Laura went straight to my family and started complaining. She didn't twist anything. She told them the full, honest story, and my mother was livid. She called me, panting like she'd run a marathon after berating Laura, just to make sure my son was okay. I can only imagine the riot act she must have read to her. Apparently, even my stepdad gave Laura one of his disapproving frowns. My brother came back in the evening to get his stuff since Laura had only packed hers for some reason. He did apologize for what she did and said that he'd have a chat with her once she calmed down. She's been inconsolable. He told me that she's been crying since she left my mom's house and now feels unwelcome and unloved in our family, and he blames me for it. My husband stepped in and told him that enough was enough. He said that whatever Laura's feeling doesn't even come close to what we felt, and that she needs to get over herself. He added that I'd been scrubbing the house from top to bottom for hours because of her actions. I did get a bit panicky and ended up deep cleaning the whole house, especially the kitchen. Anyway, my brother left after saying there was no reasoning with us when we're being this stubborn. Now that I've had time to calm down, I do feel bad that she's so distressed and feels unwelcome in our family. That was never my intention. I've been debating sending her an apology, not for my actions, because I stand by them, but for the way I went about it. I shouldn't have allowed the situation in the first place and could have been calmer about it when I opened the fridge. Update 2. A lot of people asked for an update, so here it is. Warning, this is a long one, and if I wasn't an asshole for before, I sure am now. After my mom berated Laura and my brother yelled at my husband and me, I took the advice I was given and sent them a long text. It ended up being a bit of a ramble about everything, how messed up the situation is, how disgusted we are by their stance, and how we'll be going low contact until we feel ready to be around them again. That was the day after my brother packed his bags and left. I was left on read, and I thought that was that, until a few days ago, when I got a call from Laura. I considered not answering it, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked up, Laura tried to make some awkward small talk, but I think she sensed I wasn't in the mood. So, she got right to it. She apologized for her behavior, said she had no excuse other than her hormones, and we ended up having a long chat about everything. By the end of it, I actually felt better and like we could get past this and work on our relationship. She also mentioned that she still wanted my family and me to come to her birthday dinner. It wasn't going to happen in a restaurant anymore. I guess the hotel stay ended up costing them a lot, as some of you predicted, and now it was going to be at their house instead. I told her I'd talk with my husband and get back to her. I also got a text from my brother, apologizing and saying he was just trying to protect and stand by his wife. It felt too soon to start mending things, as my husband pointed out, but he left the choice up to me. Honestly, I believed her apology because she had never acted like that before, and she seemed genuinely ashamed of herself. Anyway, my sister, who also got an apology because she tore into her as well, and my parents, who also received an apology, were invited too, but my sister's kids wanted a cousin sleepover instead of going to the dinner with us. After talking it over with my sister, we agreed they could have the sleepover at my house. Now, my babysitters are my next-door neighbors, sweet and responsible 16-year-old twins who live with their single mom. They usually team up and handle my kids on date nights, and there's a reason I'm mentioning this. With my sister's 2 kids added to the mix, I asked their mom if she was free to join the twins, and she agreed. So, I called Laura and told her that Richard and I were coming. When we arrived at their house, Laura greeted my husband and me at the door. We handed her the gift and went in, but she seemed puzzled that we didn't have a trail of kids with us. I reminded her that it was just us adults tonight. The same thing happened when my sister and her husband walked in. Dinner was awkward. No matter how hard we tried to lighten the mood, the conversation was stilted at best. Still, I thought it was at least a step forward. Laura asked again why the kids weren't with us, mentioning that she had made special food for them. I had only mentioned that my husband and I were coming, but I felt guilty for not clarifying. So, I apologized and thanked her for thinking of the kids. My sister chimed in, saying her kids and mine were having a cousin sleepover and how excited she was for our soon-to-be nephew to join them when he's older. Laura smiled and said,
"Yeah, I'm sure he'll be best friends with his cousins, aka your kids, and his step-cousins, aka your sister's kids."
This comment pees me off because we don't use the term step with the kids, but I bit my tongue. For context, my sister is technically my stepsister. While I called him my stepdad in my first post, I usually call him by his first name. He's been a parental figure since he raised me from age 10, but I had a dad, and that title will always belong to him. My sister looked hurt, but it was my brother who gave his wife a "what are you doing?" look. A few minutes passed with awkward eating and light conversation before Laura asked yet again about our kids, wondering who was watching them since all 4 parents were present. I told her our neighbor and her daughters were babysitting, to which she laughed and joked about how incompetent the girls and their mom must be if it takes all 3 of them to wrangle the kids. For context, I have 4 kids. I like to think they're well behaved, but they can be a handful, even for me, and I'm their mother. Add in my sister's 2 kids, and it's a lot for 2 teenage girls to handle, even for a few hours. We left at 7 and said we'd be back by 11. It had nothing to do with the girls' competence. My kids adore them, and their mom is wonderful. Before I could say anything, my mom stepped in with a smile and told Laura,
"It's so kind of you to offer your own competence to watch the kids next time."
That shut her up real quick. After that, dinner was even more awkward until we cleared the table, and Laura brought out dessert while my brother got the cake from the fridge. Here's where I lost the last of my remaining brain cells. I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, I saw my husband carrying my bag and trying to usher me out the front door to leave. He looked peeved, and I was beyond confused, obviously resisting because yes, the dinner was a train wreck, but let me at least say goodbye and give a lame excuse for our departure. When my husband tried to literally carry me out, I knew something was wrong, and after a couple of tries, I darted past him back to the dining room. Laura's now ready dessert table consisted of PB cake pops, PB pie, PB cookies, PB brownies, and to top it all off, a PB birthday cake that my brother had brought in and was sniffing at with a horrified look. Laura then gave me a big smile and said loudly to my family,
"I thought I should at least get to have my cravings on my birthday. Get your fill before she throws these out too."
I honestly thought for a second that my sister was going to tackle her, and I wasn't that far behind her because all I could think about was the fact that she thought my kids were coming and had planned this accordingly. I felt so guilty for allowing that stuff in our house the last time, and if my sister's kids hadn't wanted the sleepover, I would have walked my son into danger a second time. I lost my shirt. Without thinking about my actions, I grabbed Laura's head, forced her to turn towards my brother, who I think was too shocked to react, and pushed her face right into the cake and held it there while she squirmed. I even told her I hoped she choked on her cravings before finally letting her up. I honestly wanted to go for the pie too, but I had embarrassed myself enough by acting like that in the first place, so I told my brother that I was done with both him and his wife. If they tried to contact me or my family again, I would file for a protective order, and then I let my husband leave me out. My sister was cackling as she followed us with her husband, but our parents stayed back. I heard Laura screaming profanities after us, but my stepdad raised his voice, which shut her up. I got a lot of jokes about his frown on my first post, but the man is as stoic as they come. Him showing any emotion is a big deal. I remember that his frown alone growing up was enough to literally stop my sister and me in our tracks because we knew that if he gave us one, it meant we messed up. I haven't asked my mom what happened after we left because I can't handle any more heartache from my brother or his actions. I don't think this was the update anyone wanted, least of all me, but I'm completely done with both of them. Even though my brother looked like he had no idea, the stuff was in his house, happening under his roof. I'm sad I won't be in my nephew's life and that my kids won't get to know the new cousin they've been waiting for, but I'd rather cry over that than over my son's life. I don't expect anyone to be kind in the comments. I'm 32. I shouldn't have been so naive, and I know I shouldn't have reacted like that. I'm going to be dealing with that in therapy, along with the guilt I'm feeling, but please take it easy on me. I'm still shaken up. I'm also looking into family therapy for my kids so they can better process not having their uncle and aunt around after having been a close presence in their lives.